All right, I'm going to take you into academic mode a little bit. We're going to take a look at media history, media literacy. I do need to incorporate audio history into this course, but I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to go a lot deeper than that. But I'm going to take you through it quickly and I'm going to explain things, I think, as clearly as I can. First of all, I have a lot of respect for the world that you are navigating right now. I have a lot of respect for you by navigating in that world. And I'm a digital immigrant and you're a digital native. I'm 66 years old, so I have seen tech evolve in, in my lifetime. You are going to see it evolve as well. And it's important to understand where it all came from. So I even go further back in history. I go back to cave art as a form of media and technology. They're always combined together, technology and media, typically. But I also believe that we should be we should be ending this. We need to protect ourselves from technology, and we need to protect ourselves from. And what I mean by that in particular, as you know, that you probably get this said to you all the time: you're glued to your phone. You young people today are glued to your phone. Well, that's just old people talking, and everybody gets to that age where the technology that starts to bloom and sprout up is so foreign to them that they just can't deal with it. And I've stayed current. I think I'm proud of myself for staying current. But I really think that it should be emancipatory. We should learn how media works, how particularly digital media, how it works, and what it is we're looking at. So I'm going to start way, 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 way back in history. This is cave art from Argentina that was 10,000 years ago. And this was, a pigment from probably fruits or berries or some kind of plants. And they would put it into a straw. They put the mixture of pigment in their mouth and then blow out through like a reed or a straw type thing and create cave art. And it's beautiful stuff. It's fantastic. And it's a story. They were telling stories back then. We don't know what they were trying to say, but they were telling stories. And I think it's important to understand that media, I think, is in our DNA. I think it's in the human DNA. I think it's in every life form, to be honest with you. I know it's a little wild, but I do go there sometimes. But media, it's a generic term for all human invented technology. And it's usually an extension of ourselves in some way. Somehow it's an extension of ourselves. You could say that this is an extension of this person's mind, even. It takes all kinds of forms. This was a cairn or a cairn. And I don't know if you can see that really. Let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. And it's just a pile of rocks, but it was pointing people in the right direction when they were traveling. So, and technology and media just keeps getting more and more sophisticated. If you are ever hiking in the woods and you see something like this was probably done by Native Americans hundreds of years ago. And they used this technique where they would tie down they take a sapling and tie down a couple of the branches so that they would end up getting stuck in the ground, and then this shoot would come up like this and then end up with this kind of thing. But that was a way of giving directions. And then, of course, we end up with the alphabet, pictographs, and then the alphabet. And that was a big technological advancement, believe it or not. This is probably one of the most profound things that has ever happened to human beings, is the ability to take ideas, thoughts from our minds and communicate them in various different ways. And it led to people being specialists, right? So in the early days of language, there were only a few people who knew how to write it and decode it and understand it. And that creates a lot of power imbalances and hierarchy of social structures and things like that. And then, this is the printing press, and dates don't really matter that much, but this allowed language and knowledge to be mass produced. And along the same time, the technological advantages of, weaponry, probably first used for hunting, right? But it evolves into let's kill each other with it. If you go from carving little stones, napping stones with another stone and adhering it onto a branch to make a spear, and then you all of a sudden now are mining the lithosphere and pulling minerals up and creating armor with it and really hard tools of destruction. The other thing that happened more in our kind of our time period, well, this is like 1860s or maybe 1850s, but this is the telegraph. And what it did is it annihilated space and time, because you could now just about instantaneously communicate over long distances across the country, for example. And then all of a sudden, where information over here may be used to manipulate, or it may be used to educate, but you still got, I'll pull on this hierarchy thing coming over to here. You still got this creating information as a commodity, as something to be bought and sold. And, we complain about, or you may hear your parents or older generation complaining about fake news. Well, guess what? This is a report, a front page story of the Wright brothers' first flight, and it's extremely exaggerated. They flew about 10 feet in the air for about 75 yards, first flight. If you read this story or you look this story up, they were flying through high winds and the teeth of wind over the waves, and none of that happened. So it's just, I used to work with a guy who was once an editor for the Boston Globe, and he said, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And that takes us to, the days of radio. And this is like 1919 was the first radio broadcast into the home. And, this, of course, was evil, and there were people that were totally against it. And, when their parents, these people here, their parents were yelling at them for doing this because that's going to destroy their mind. And it's always the same. And then we have television. And then, of course, we are broadcasting now, right? So we're sending signals through the air and then decoding those signals and listening and watching. And then, of course, the infrastructure starts with the first I was born in 1959, and the first satellite was from Russia. It was called Sputnik. And of course, we were afraid that they were going to drop bombs on us. That's what we thought. And now we still are, probably. But there is a exoskeleton of these now orbiting the planet. There's probably, I think, about 40,000 or more of these things going around the planet. So the lithosphere, this is made out of rocks, right? When you boil it right down to its origin, we have made rocks think. We use silicon to create transistors. This was the very first computer. And this guy's saying, I'm going to need a bigger desk. And now, of course, we know what computers are and what they do for the most part. And we are basically in the digital world right now. We are in the digital world. And if anybody has ever watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is my favorite movie, you will have heard this.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And of course, what Stanley Kubrick and the author of the science fiction book, Robert Heinlein, created this movie, and it was about the first AI-guided spaceship and the AI computer actually takes over the spaceship and kills the astronauts because he thinks they're interfering with the mission. So he had a mission critical programming. Now, why do I have these guys here? Because I just want you to know that this is an overview, and memorization of data and factoids so that you spit them back out on a test, I believe is not very effective. And but this guy, if you don't know who this guy is, he's the Jeopardy champion, and he won millions of dollars because and people say, oh, he must be really intelligent. I will argue that he's not intelligent, or at least not any more intelligent than any one of us. He just happens to have a brain that can store and retrieve information. And that's why he made the world record on Jeopardy, and then he lost to a computer. So, take it full circle. For what it's worth, this is my overview of technology, media. There's a little bit of audio in there, and I hope you don't mind me dumping in all the other stuff, but I find it very interesting, and I think it will help you understand the world that you are in now and the world that's coming as well. I believe it's a great time to be alive. I'm not a dystopian type of person. I see a protopian, not a utopian, not a dystopian, but a protopian, a purposeful future. And I think you're going to be a really big part of that. So it's exciting, and I think it's a good time to be alive.